The Stoics believe that 8 principles are enough to become bulletproof. They don't only preach wisdom or virtue, but how to deal with the frustrations of everyday life. Understanding these teachings from Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius can transform you into a powerful king. Here's how you can become a king, even if you are broke. Disregarding insults and offenses. It is impossible to go through life without stepping on the toes of other people. You will often come across people that will insult you, or take offense to what you do or say. As Epictetus noted, the one who insults or strikes is not insulted. The one who insults is the criterion that establishes those actions as offensive. In essence, this means that if you are offended by someone, it is your own opinion that what is said should be considered offensive. By disregarding such insults, you essentially render these attempts useless. Insults are not intrinsically harmful, but can be the cause of emotional distress, as long as it is permitted. However, the source of the insults can more often than not be showing a reflection of themselves when giving out these insults. Once you disregard insults, you essentially render them non-offensive, and they simply disappear into the universe. Purpose will lead to ridicule. You will often be ridiculed once you establish your purpose. The single-minded intentions of the crowd are often aligned with what is popular and what people want to do to be accepted. Once you understand and establish a philosophy within yourself, you will hear people tell you that you have suddenly turned into a philosopher. You might be labeled as being arrogant or boring by many people around you. However, ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius teach us that being purposeful is the one thing that is truly beneficial to you and your goals. In fact, the only things that truly matter are not how others perceive you and your goals, but rather the way you perceive yourself and whether you are happy with these goals. Remember that when you get to achieve your goals and purpose, those who ridicule you and have negative comments might be the first to admire you. Epictetus is known for preaching, if we fail to pursue purpose, we know we should pursue just for the fear of others' opinions. We will make ourselves ridiculous twice over. First, because we have tried and not been able to follow through, and second, because we have given in to the opinions of others. In essence, this means that when you give up because of the ridicule of others, ridicule arises within yourself, and you could be left with a life that is not worth living. It is better to clench your teeth and deal with the mockery and comments for a while. This will only be temporary, as you continue to live according to your nature and not that of societal standards. Living in fear and dishonor. Many people are fearful of living a life of dishonor. However, honor is a variable subject with numerous different meanings. In fact, the definition of honor is often chosen and determined by society, who can easily choose to define the meaning based on their immoral standards. If honor were to be decided by public opinion, most people would be disregarded and dishonorable. But we see many people bend their moral compass through means of social media, where they simply follow the latest trends and try to seem like they have the most power through their followers and likes. But living a life in which you constantly want to seek the approval of others will not be something worth living, and essentially, unhappiness will stem from this. By dancing to the rhythm of others, you will find yourself intrinsically unhappy, and this may cause even more frustration within yourself. The ancient philosophers often tell us that worrying about status over intrinsic happiness is a sure way to find yourself in self-hatred. Giving your mind to a stranger, would you give your body to the first stranger you meet? I would assume not, as this would make you angry once the person simply disregards you after all the effort. You see, while we are averted from giving our bodies to random people around us, it is often easy to give our minds to the confusion sowed by those around us. In fact, you should look at your mind as your house and ask yourself if you will let a stranger into your home, understanding the possible risk they could pose. Your mind is similar, and if you continue to lend your mind to strangers, you are opening up yourself to the dangers and confusion they could pose. By reducing the people around you and only focusing on allowing certain people into your life, you will be in more control of who can enter your mind or your proverbial house. This could save you plenty of frustration, and you will reduce all the suffering from miserable people. Repressing your actions. You see, we often find ourselves repressing our actions to fit into the scope of what society wants us to become. However, you should never repress your actions for fear of being misjudged by someone if you truly believe that such action is correct. If you think that an action is incongruent with who and what you are, you should aim to avoid such an action entirely, but stopping something for the fear that it might be mislabeled by others will inevitably lead to intrinsic unhappiness. If we look back at social media, we find that many people today are fearful of being cancelled, and they do not speak their minds. This leads to holding back things that essentially dull you as a human being. It is important to realize that happiness does not hinge on your popularity, but rather knowing and believing that the actions you take are deliberate and in line with your purpose. Be less reactive to the opinions of others when someone speaks ill of you. Epictetus says that instead of focusing on what they say, we should focus on what is motivating to say this. Whilst other people can easily speak their minds and voice their opinions without clear facts, the only person who truly knows you is you. When someone insults you, you should focus on what could be their motivation for this, and the best way to look at it is to see that their comments are more than likely a reflection of themselves. You see, the only person who truly knows you is you, and if you believe that what you are doing is right, you should not have any regrets about these actions. In essence, be less reactive to the thoughts and opinions of others, and you will find that it becomes much easier to be happy in performing your everyday tasks and actions without fear of the opinions of others. Praemeditatio Malorum. The world is full of obstacles that can often hamper and hinder our progress through life. However, Epictetus encourages us to anticipate obstacles without overthinking them. By preparing for possible obstacles that may arise in life, you will be better able to overcome them with ease. It is important to focus on the things that could go wrong and anticipate the way they will play out. Not only does it prepare you for some of the ups and downs of life, but you will have more mental clarity. Instead of being shocked, you can calm yourself down and focus on being more receptive to these specific issues. We should also consider that most of society will have negative comments, and by preparing for these inevitable comments, we can redirect our focus to finding the positivity in things. You see, every negative storm has a rainbow or moment of solace that could be found. In essence, perception and anticipation are important to foresee possible problems which may arise. Nothing can hurt you. It is easy to think that the words or actions of others can hurt you. Whilst they can affect your physical appearance and be frustrating to deal with, no one can truly hurt your mind unless you allow them to do so. I have already touched on how the voices of others are often a reflection of themselves, and not directly tied to you and who you are. If you truly believe in who you are, and you become confident that you are doing the right thing, the words of others can rarely harm you, and you do not need to carry the burden of their frustration upon yourself. But as with anything in life, following these Stoic principles of Epictetus will take time, and you will need to consciously focus on making them part of your life. If you have found this video helpful and you believe in the practice of Stoicism bestowed upon us by the ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you never miss another video.